So today I'm going to be speaking to you about a topic that's very close to my heart, and the topic is HypnoBirthing, the Mongan Method. So my name is 𝘄𝗵𝘁, and I am the founder, doula, and hypnobirthing childbirth educator at Shakti Births. We're going to take a look at how we feel about birth, why we feel this way. We're going to look at fear and the impact that it has on labor. We're going to take a look at how birth can actually be. We're going to see what hypnobirthing is. We're going to learn about the hypnobirthing philosophy, some of the benefits of hypnobirthing. We're going to look at the information on the course, everything we cover. Then we're going to look at the role of the partner, who's very important during hypnobirthing. And finally, we'll finish off with a fantastic birth video, just so that you can see all of our hypnobirthing techniques put into practice. All right, so let's ask ourselves, what words come to mind when you think about birth? I'll give you all a moment just to think about it. Let's see if any of your words match one of these. If you ask anyone in society what they think about birth, you're going to hear words like painful, scary, long, and difficult. So why do we feel this way about birth? So I think we really need to take a look at how we are raised and the things that we experience within society, the way labor and birth are portrayed in society, from the media, the movies and the series that we watch, or the shows we watch, and how they portray birth, to all of the stories that we hear from our friends, from our family, and even from strangers. Because you know, when someone sees you pregnant, just a random auntie at the shop, it's like you suddenly become a magnet for everyone's terrible horror stories about birth. So how is it usually portrayed, especially in the media? And especially when we chat with our dads in the class? Well, what happens? Your water breaks, and usually it's in public. We've all seen that TV show where mom is in the fruit and veg aisle and suddenly it's splash and her water breaks everywhere. And then all of a sudden it's this huge medical emergency. We need to rush to the hospital because baby's going to be born within minutes. We hear from everyone that birth is extremely painful. We hear stories of epidurals, screaming profanities. I remember when I was telling my boss at that stage during my pregnancy that I was planning on having an unmedicated natural birth and that I was using this thing called hypnobirthing. He felt the need to tell me about his wife's experience in labor, and he was telling me about how she kept sucking on the gas and air, so she birthed in the UK, that eventually the midwife took it away from her because she was using it too much. And he had major reservations about me being able to birth unmedicated. And he went on to tell me about another friend of theirs who's usually this very prim and proper, ladylike person, and during her birth she was shouting and screaming and cussing and swearing like he had never heard before, as her husband relayed the story afterwards. Of course, sitting listening to this story, there definitely were some seeds of doubt and fear that were planted in my mind, and I'm sure if you're sitting here today, especially as a pregnant mom, you also have some of those seeds of fear and doubt that have already been planted in your mind. There is this belief in society that women's bodies are faulty, and that we cannot birth without medication or medical intervention, and that we must birth on our backs. I'm sure you've heard from lots of women, they think that that's the only way in which you can birth. That is definitely not the case. And we hear about inductions, we hear about stalled labors, we hear about babies going into distress and emergency cesarean sections. I think that this is most probably the most common birth story that we hear, especially for those of us who birth in a hospital. We'll hear of a friend who went in and baby went into distress after her labour stalled and she ended up needing an emergency C-section. And we're going to take a look at why this is the most common birth story we hear in society, and also why does it need to be that way. But of course it's impacted how we feel. The way in which partners are portrayed. Oh, it's terrible. In the media, next time you're at a braai, you hear about dads fainting or their partners yelling at them. When a couple is getting ready to prepare for the birth of their baby, you'll often hear friends saying, oh, good luck, brother, you know, she's going to really scream at you during labor and blame you for putting her through that. It's believed that partners are always saying or doing the wrong things during birth. And there are a lot of other reasons and situations for that build-up of fear that we get over time. So during the HypnoBirthing course, we do cover a lot of those different reasons and situations, but this is sort of just the tip of the iceberg, and it just goes to show that it's no surprise that we do feel the way we do about birth. So we now understand that we do tend to hold quite a fear about labour and about birth, but how does that actually affect the labour process? So to look at that, we need to first look at what we call the fear, tension, pain cycle. So you can see these arrows that I've got here, and basically what happens is when we experience fear within our body, it causes tension. It causes us to hold tension within our muscles, and the more tense we are, the more pain we experience, and the more pain we experience, the more we get scared and the more we tense up. And so you can see that it really is a vicious cycle. So what happens when we are experiencing fear during labor, when we are scared? So the first thing that happens is our body releases stress hormones, or what we call catecholamines. For example, adrenaline, noradrenaline, cortisol. These are all the stress hormones our body releases. These stress hormones slowly but surely affect the release of the body's birthing hormones, most important being oxytocin. I'm sure you've all heard of oxytocin. That is the love hormone, the bonding hormone. But what everyone doesn't necessarily know is that oxytocin is the hormone that guides your labor. When your brain releases oxytocin, it's received in the uterus and it causes the uterus to contract, and that is actually where your labor comes from. And after your body secretes enough stress hormones, that eventually suppresses the oxytocin completely, and that is what then leads to a stalled labor. So this is a fight or flight response that is activated by our autonomic nervous system. So our nervous system is divided up into our automatic nervous system, which controls things like breathing, blinking, our heart beating, and the birth process. And of course also our voluntary nervous system, which is where we voluntarily do certain behaviors. But it is the involuntary nervous system we are more concerned with here, our autonomic nervous system. And when that fight or flight response is activated within the autonomic nervous system, it causes all of the oxygen-rich blood within our body to rush to our defense organs, our arms and our legs, so that we can either fight off this threat that is making us scared or run away from this threat. I'm just going to turn my camera off so you can see the rest of the slide as we go down. And what happens then is that all of that oxygen-rich blood is redirected away from the uterus, so it can go to our arms and legs, because in a life or death situation, your uterus is not going to be able to defend you much. And so what happens is your uterus, your placenta, and your baby become oxygen deprived during the labor process. As with any muscle that is functioning without oxygen, the uterus will start to become more painful if it is functioning without oxygen. Certain muscles tense and tighten up, which causes pain, and lactic acid is also produced, which causes further pain. And with this lack of oxygen to baby, with mom going into a distressed state, it eventually also stresses baby out. And that is when you see stalled labor, baby going into distress, and either augmentation, meaning we need to get medication to get labor going again, or surgery, cesarean birth, basically to keep everyone safe. And so that is sadly the effect that fear does have on the labor process. So the idea behind hypnobirthing is that we can reduce your fear and we can increase your confidence in your ability to birth easily and comfortably. So how do hypnobirthing mothers describe birth? What can birth actually be like? Let's take a look at this. What if I told you birth can be empowering, awesome, euphoric, manageable, pain-free, calm, intense, and amazing? This is how birth can be. This photo that you see in this slideshow, this is one of my clients, 𝘗𝘗𝘗𝘗. She was 8 centimeters dilated at the point that this photo was taken, when she and her hubby were sharing a joke in between surgeries. This is what labor can actually look like. So let's take a look at what hypnobirthing actually is, the official definition of hypnobirthing. So hypnobirthing is as much a philosophy as it is a technique. It is a rewarding, relaxing, stress-free method of birthing that is based on the belief that all babies should come into the world gently in an atmosphere of calm and joy. Hypnobirthing prepares a birthing couple physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually for an easier, more comfortable, and sometimes pain-free birth, through a well-thought-out program of deep relaxation, self-hypnosis, special breathing techniques, visualizations, affirmations, and education. Hypnobirthing returns to a woman the art of birthing in a way that allows her to summon her natural birthing instincts and to birth a baby safely and with ease. And here you see another beautiful photo of 𝘗𝘗𝘗𝘗. You can actually see the surge in her belly at that point as her uterus is rising up and getting ready to birth a baby there. So the concept of hypnobirthing is not actually new. Hypnobirthing is based on the writings of a British obstetrician from the late 1800s by the name of Dr. Grantley Dicreed. So he actually witnessed pain-free birth, and he was the first person to hypothesize that we actually have within our bodies a natural painkiller that is activated when we do not experience fear, or our fight or flight response is not activated during birth. And so we want to return to the way in which women were birthing thousands of years ago. For example, if you read about the Greek philosophers, Hippocrates and so on, they wrote about short labors of 2-3 hours, and there was absolutely no mention of any pain during these labors. And that is the state that we want to return to when we are not influenced by the fear and the anxiety that we have within society. So let's have a look at the hypnobirthing philosophy. So we believe that birth is a natural, normal, and healthy bodily process. We don't believe that birth is a medical event. And we believe that when a healthy woman who is carrying a healthy baby and is experiencing a healthy labor trusts birth and is free of fear and is appropriately relaxed, her body will function normally. And we believe that the bodies of healthy pregnant women instinctively know how to birth, just as their bodies instinctively know how to conceive and how to nurture the development of the babies that they are carrying. And birth has a natural rhythm and flow, and it's best not disturbed in the absence of what we call special circumstances. So we believe that birth attendants are like lifeguards. It's their job to jump in and save someone who is flailing or struggling and who might otherwise drown. but who wouldn't think of jumping in to interfere with a swimmer who has a perfect rhythm and is swimming perfectly well, obviously for fear that that interference could cause the swimmer to lose their rhythm and possibly cause problems that could do harm. The care provider is there in case of a special circumstance or a medical emergency. So what does the birthing landscape look like in South Africa? Our private sector has a C-section rate upwards of 75% as it stands at this point. So if you are giving birth in a hospital, you have a very, very good chance of actually experiencing a cesarean birth. Unfortunately, just going with the flow in the South African context will often mean that you end up with a cesarean birth. And so we see that our current maternity system doesn't really support physiological birth. So during the HypnoBirthing course, we're going to give you a lot of information and skills to assist you in navigating the birth industry so that you can be confident and that you can be navigating it in a non-confrontational way so that you might know what your options are, who the care providers are that can support your vision of birth, and that you don't just need to go with the flow or the status quo. And lastly, we advocate for evidence-based care. That means that every mother, every baby in pregnancy is unique and not one size fits all, and should be treated as such. So you deserve to have a care provider with a lot of clinical experience who combines their experience with what the scientific research says and also takes into account the family's wishes, combining these three things so as to allow the family to make evidence-based choices for their birth, informed choices. What are some of the benefits of hypnobirthing? So hypnobirthing has been taught for over 32 years now and across over 46 countries around the world. So we do have a lot of evidence that we can refer to now to see what sort of benefits we get from hypnobirthing. So we do find fewer interventions, fewer cesarean births, fewer cases of preeclampsia and inductions. We see a lessened or eliminated need for painkillers. We see shortened labors. We see fewer premature babies. We see fewer low-weight babies. We see fewer cases of postpartum mood and anxiety disorder. We see happier and more content mothers and babies. So let's take a look at the hypnobirthing course information. So to start off with, hypnobirthing is an evidence-based antenatal course. It's not necessary to do another birth preparation or antenatal course, as hypnobirthing is considered a full childbirth education series. However, I do always recommend that you look into doing a childcare class and especially a first aid or CPR course. It consists of 5 weekly classes, each lasting about 3 hours long, of childbirth education. You are welcome to bring with your partner and any other support person, for example your doula or your mother, because it's very important that the people who will be with you during the birth are on the same page as you and are familiar with the techniques and the information that you'll be using during your birth. The course is taught either online or in person, and it can be taught in a group format or private. You will learn everything that you need to know to achieve a safer, easier and more comfortable birth. And the course does include a textbook, which you see over there. It also includes a study guide, additional handouts, MP3 tracks, all of the classes, as well as some additional sessions if you may need them. For example, we have self-hypnosis scripts for turning breech babies and for inducing if you are overdue, and it also includes WhatsApp support until your birth. So let's see what we cover in the course. In class 1, we take a look at the theory behind hypnobirthing. We then take a look at the techniques that we have in HypnoBirthing. That's when we're teaching you all those wonderful breathing techniques and the light touch massage and all that sort of thing. In class 3, we move over to deep relaxation and we do a fear release exercise. In class 4, we look at birthing a baby. And in class 5, we move on to bonding and the 4th trimester. So in HypnoBirthing, we focus on 6 main areas. The first area is hypnosis. So this is the strangest part to some people. When they think of hypnosis, they think of stage hypnosis. You know, when you have someone clucking like a chicken. They don't quite understand how hypnosis can actually be used in pregnancy and birth. But this is not that kind of hypnosis. There won't be any clucking during these classes. But rather we look at the fact that hypnosis is actually a natural state. So what is hypnosis? It's an induced state of deep, focused relaxation in which a person more readily accepts suggestions. And everyone has actually experienced hypnosis at some point. So if you have been daydreaming, if you're meditating, if you've been driving and you forget where you're going, or you arrive somewhere and don't remember how you got there, and that state just before you fall asleep at night. Basically, when you are super relaxed, that's when you become highly responsive to suggestions. So why would we use hypnosis in birth? We have to understand the mind-body connection to understand this. So the things that you think influence the way that you feel, and in turn that influences the way in which you behave. Your mind controls your body. Any kind of sensations that you experience within your body are being felt by the mind and not by the body. And so you may have heard the term mind over matter. That's pretty much what we're talking about when we look at exploring that mind-body connection in hypnobirthing and how one can affect the other during birth. So hypnosis is one of the few ways in which we can access and influence our subconscious, and our subconscious ultimately controls the labor process. So we use hypnosis in birthing so that we can clear up some of the fears we may be holding, so that we can create natural painkillers, in other words endorphins, within our body, so that we can change our perception of the sensations that we're experiencing within our body, so that we can stay energized and not be exhausted during the birth, and so that we can relax and allow those birthing hormones to be released properly, so that we can have that shorter, easier, more comfortable labor and birth. So when you are in hypnosis, you are not unconscious or asleep. You're not submissive to someone else's will. You're not in an eerie trance state. You're not prone to reveal confidential information. And you are not going to experience any kind of memory loss. But rather, when you're in hypnosis, you are totally conscious of everything that is going on around you. You are a consenting participant. You cannot go in hypnosis if you don't consent to it. You're fully in control during the whole process. If you'd like to come out of relaxation, you can do so at will. You are basically just comfortably relaxed. You're aware of your surroundings, what is happening around you. You remember everything during the state. And you're actually in a learning state, which is why it's great to get into a state of hypnosis when trying to retain information. The bottom line is that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So although it may be great to have sort of a guided relaxation in the beginning stages as you are learning the art of relaxation, it is actually all self-hypnosis, and so you're in control the entire time. And basically, when we experience hypnosis, we are able to bypass that critical thinking mind so that we can access our subconscious. And that is where we can change our beliefs, remove our fears, and gain more control over a process such as labor that is controlled by our subconscious. The second area that we cover in hypnobirthing are the breathing techniques, which is probably what the course is most popular for. Here we have 3 different types of breathing techniques. The first one is calm breathing. This is a relaxing technique. It helps you to sleep, and it can be used between surges during your labor so that you can release tension and be relaxed within your body. We then have surge breathing. Surge breathing is done during a surge or contraction, and this allows for each surge to be more efficient. And when the surges are more efficient, you dilate or your cervix opens quicker, thus shortening your labor. With the surge breathing, it helps keep a lot of oxygen supplied to baby and can avoid them going into fetal distress. In this photo that you see over here is another one of my clients, Mindy. You can absolutely see the power of that surge in her tummy during this photo, and it would be at this point that she is actually doing birth breathing. So birth breathing is the third and final type of breathing technique in hypnobirthing. It is done when you are actually bearing down or pushing, as we would call it traditionally. So with the birth breathing, it helps to keep the mother in control. It helps to avoid tearing, and it also reduces fatigue so that mom and baby are ready to feed and bond soon after the birth. The third area that we cover in hypnobirthing is visualization. So this might also be a little woo-woo for some people. The reality is that visualization has become a very well accepted and great tool, even in general society. Some of our top athletes use visualization. They visualize themselves winning that race. And what we have found, thanks to science, is that the very same areas of the brain are active when you're visualizing yourself doing something and when you are actually doing it. So during hypnobirthing, we are going to give you some tools, both physical printouts and mental visualizations that you can help to imagine. And these will all help you in positioning baby for birth and actually keeping them in that good position. It will assist during the thinning and opening phase so that it's shorter. This is that period during labor when your cervix is thinning out and opening. It will also assist your uterine muscles so that they can work in harmony. And when your uterine muscles work in harmony, you experience less tension and pain. And visualization allows you to reach deep states of relaxation quickly and easily. The fourth area is education. This is where we spend the biggest part of the program so that you can make informed decisions. The goal with our hypnobirthing course is not to create good patients, rather it's to create great parents. So you're going to learn how your uterus works, all of the different muscle layers involved in the process. You're going to learn all about fear and about labor, all of the different hormones involved during labor and the role of the nervous system. You're going to learn about pre-birth parenting. What is your baby experiencing in utero? How can you bond with your baby? We're going to be looking at the different types of care providers we have, the different birth facilities you could birth at, and the very important role of the environment during birth. We're going to look at how we can prepare our body for birth through nutrition, toning, things like perineal massage. We are going to also look at preparing your birth preferences or writing up a birth plan. We're going to look at the very important role of the partner during the birth process. We're going to look at turning breech babies. We're going to look at due dates and induction, both chemical and natural induction. We're going to look at the stages of labor and what to do and when to do it. We're going to look at some comfort measures during labor. We're going to teach you about all the different positions that you can use during birth, and we'll finish off by looking at bonding and breastfeeding. So most of the approximately 15 hours of childbirth education that you'll be experiencing during the course is based on the education area. The fifth area is affirmations. So again, this may be a little bit out there, but affirmations actually play a very important part in the process. So one of the laws of the mind, which is the law of repetition and substitution, says that your mind can only accept one thought or belief at a time. For example, you cannot believe that birth is scary and painful and that birth is beautiful and empowering. You can only hold one of those beliefs at a time. So the more that you use these affirmations, the more that your subconscious will actually begin to believe and accept these affirmations as facts. This in turn will change your behavior, your habits, your actions, and your reactions to the birth scenario you find yourself in. And when you practice affirmations during pregnancy and birth, it's going to help to keep you positive, focused, and motivated so that you can achieve your birth goals. The sixth and final area of hypnobirthing is that of relaxation. So when you are in hypnosis or focused relaxation, your body is releasing endorphins. These are a natural relaxant and painkiller that is released in your body and in baby's body. Endorphins cross the placenta over to baby, and so baby benefits from this as well. Relaxation also ensures optimal physical and emotional well-being and growth of your baby during pregnancy. There has been a lot of research done, if you look into the field of fetality studies, focusing on how mom's emotional state during pregnancy can enter into as one of the most important factors in the development of your baby's brain and even their personality. When you're in relaxation, you have better blood flow throughout your system. And if ever you need some motivation to practice your relaxation, just remember this affirmation: I relax so my baby can relax. With hypnobirthing, what you put in is what you get out. So the more you practice your relaxations, your breathing, your visualization and so forth, the more it's going to be second nature for you on your birthing day. And that is when you're going to experience that easier, more comfortable birth. Now that we've looked at all of the different areas of what we teach in hypnobirthing, I want to talk a little bit about the role of the partner. So firstly, I want to say that doing a hypnobirthing course is a lot better than trying to self-study, because the partner is not left out. When moms self-study, they tend to learn all of the information by themselves, and then during labor, they really go within. And when that happens, the partner is sort of left out on the sidelines. At the end of the day, dads want to keep their partners and their babies safe. And so we are going to teach you what is normal during labor, how to advocate to keep your birth preferences on track, how to make the right decisions during the birth process. Through doing a hypnobirthing course, it enables you as a partner to be informed and to be present. And it's going to result in a better birth for all of you. You're going to learn how to support your partner physically and emotionally. Because let's face it, most dads are fixers. They want to help, but they don't always know how. So we're going to teach you the techniques and the comfort measures that you need to help and empower your partner. And the result of this is going to be confident and excited dads. When you realize that you don't need to save your partner from labor, but rather that you learn how to empower them during the labor process. We're going to teach you how to create the perfect birth environment for your partner and your birth. To talk a little bit about how confident and excited dads can become after doing this course, I have to tell you a quick story about one of my clients. When we first started off with our private hypnobirthing course, this dad couldn't even bear to watch the birth videos. He would step outside of the room. It was just all a little too much for him. But by the time we were done with the course and it came time to birthing baby, He was actually the one who received baby. The midwife guided him to catch his own baby. And that is what we want to see. Dads, partners who are no longer scared of birth, but who are excited and willing and ready to accept this next stage in their lives and to embrace it with open arms.
And now for a beautiful hypnobirthing birth video of one of my clients.
To a valley, an ocean to a stone. The time it takes the edges to become well worn. But with your arms around me, I've never been more sure that all this time and softened lights are better than before. My love will not change. Sailing through the seasons with every setting sun, breathing in the feeling like we've just begun. Feels like we're flying, but it's steady ground in all the chaos and the my love will not change. My love will not change. My love will not change. Through the years it grows, but time will hold the weight. My love will not change. My love will not change. Through the years it grows, but time will hold the weight. My love will not change.
Thank you very much for attending today's presentation. I'd like to give a special acknowledgement to my clients and to the amazing birth photographer Sam Schröder, because most of the black and white birth photos I featured in this presentation are photos that she has taken of my clients. Please don't hesitate to get in touch with me should you be interested in doing a hypnobirthing course, and I hope to hear from you soon. Have a safe and blessed day further.